Wasn't worried about long-term potential. He just wanted to get something done. He'd lost confidence in his value. It was time for a pep talk. He needed to reconnect with the hustler spirit that led him to start the business in the first place. Remember, if just one person was interested, that means your idea has value, I reassured him. Don't panic. Don't settle for something else unless it's right. There are companies out there who prey on people in your exact situation. Don't walk into their trap. Get back to work and wait for the right partner to emerge. I could address his uncertainties directly because I could relate to what he was feeling. When you pour everything you have into something and it doesn't work out, insecurity sets in. That's when you're vulnerable. The predators will sense that self-doubt and try to take advantage of it. I felt the same kind of vulnerability after I got dropped from Columbia. The self-doubt started to sabotage my energy. My fans probably didn't sense it, but it was there. Thankfully, my hustler spirit was stronger than any pessimism that might have infiltrated my spirit. I had the confidence and patience to wait until the right deal was in front of me. I believed in my value, and eventually I was rewarded for it. In just a couple of years, I went from being dropped to releasing one of the best-selling hip-hop albums of all time. Now, the guys that I used to sit next to that I hustled with, they would say I was lucky that Interscope came after me. But as my grandmother would say, you are truly blessed. It might seem obvious, but people don't always see the value of a strong association. Sometimes, and this is especially true with artists, they get so caught up in their own hype that they don't think they need anyone to co-sign them. They believe their heat alone is more than enough to get the job done. It's great to have confidence, but never let your ego blind you to an association that can take you further than you can go on your own. I saw this happen firsthand with a Philadelphia rapper named Gillie the Kid. He was brought to my attention by the legendary Philly disc jockey, Cosmic Kev. At the time, I was riding sky high off my first couple of albums and constantly had people pitching me their artists. Kev was seasoned, so he knew the best way to get my attention was to approach me humbly. Yo, I never asked you for anything, he told me, which was true. But I need one favor. I need you to listen to Gillie's joint, because this is going to pop. I had a lot of respect for Kev, so I gave it a listen. He was right. It felt like a hit. I liked the song so much, I decided I would walk Gillie into Interscope. If you're not familiar with that term, it means that instead of making him pitch his music to an A&R person, I would personally take his music to the executives in charge. Having someone walk you in is what you want as an artist. It allows you to bypass all the lower-level people and talk directly to the top brass. It's especially valuable if the person walking you in just sold 25 million records for the label. Then you really got everyone's attention. I played Gillie's song for one of the top executives. At first, they weren't as sold as I was. Then I told him my plan. Listen, I don't think it makes sense to put Gillie on G-Unit, I explained. I didn't know if his sound would mesh with what we were doing at the time. But if you guys sign him, I'll give the project my full support. I'll put the battery in his pack. The executive said, okay, that changes things. Let's do it. If I co-signed it, they knew it was going to sell. We sent word back to Gillie that there was a deal on the table at Interscope. I forgot how much they were offering, but I remember it being fair. Evidently, Gillie didn't see it the same way. Nah, fuck that, he replied when Kev told him the number. They got to give me $1 million to sign. I was surprised at his response, but out of respect for Kev, I went back and told the execs what he wanted. They felt it was way out of line for someone without much of a track record. They were willing to bring him on, but not for $1 million outright. Gillie wouldn't budge. People tried to talk to him, telling him that there was momentum he needed to harness. But he had his mindset on that $1 million. And when Interscope wouldn't give it to him, he passed on the deal. It was an ill mistake. His error was he allowed himself to get in a zone where it was all about the money. His vision was too limited. Another factor was his environment. Philly is a big enough city, but its rapper community is pretty small. Everyone knows what the other guy's doing. Gillie probably heard what Beanie Siegel had signed for or what Philly's Most Wanted had gotten, and figured he had to hold out to be in the same league. It was the wrong way to assess the deal. Instead of focusing on what the next man got, he should have focused on the larger opportunity, which was having me get behind his project. With all my momentum, I could have given him the heat he needed and then some. I have zero doubt that with my cosign, Gillie would have ended up making way more than $1 million from Interscope. Instead, he signed somewhere else, and several years later released an album that didn't get the proper support or attention. That was pretty much it. He never had his moment despite his proven skills. Today, Gillie's a respected OG on the Philly scene and has a popular podcast, but he never experienced the level of success he should have as a rapper. Focus on the potential, not the payday. When we look back at how I evaluated the Eminem deal, notice all the positives I focused on. Elite talent to work with, a lack of internal competition, and access to a new fan base. Now notice what I didn't mention. Money. I knew whatever number we agreed on would ultimately be irrelevant compared to what I would earn long term with the proper plan in place. My signing bonus for Shady Records was only $1 million. But I ended up earning so much money off that deal, the signing bonus is almost irrelevant. It might sound counterintuitive, especially in a chapter titled Know Your Value, but the first check you receive should never be your biggest concern. Always focus on the long-term potential instead. That was the principle behind one of the best business decisions I ever made. which was my deal with Vitamin Water back in 2004. Today, I'm celebrated for that decision. But like when I signed with Eminem, at the time, it had a lot of people scratching their heads. That includes Chris Lighty, who was skeptical when I first told him I wanted to invest in a water company. Sell water to who? He asked. At the time, a lot of rappers were making money promoting liquor like Hennessy or Cavassier. In Chris's mind, booze was the smarter space to invest in.